everyone, to the Infinite Wisdom interview series. This is the place for you to expand your mind, stretch your horizons, and witness the vastness of possibilities the universe has to offer all of us. So, as usual, tell us where you're tuning in from. Drop us a hint in the comments, landmark, city, country. Let's see how many purpose-driven souls are with us today. Plus, we also want those who might be new to the show to drop in a hashtag first time, or if you're on the replay, hashtag replay, because we'll come back, we'll circle around after the show and give you a fair welcome. And if you're catching us on other, and that's also so if you're catching us on other streaming services, we're always keeping in mind that we appreciate you and that you are now part of an extraordinary community of thousands of brilliant individuals, all of us with the hopes and the desires to build a better world for ourselves, for our children, and their children's children. So be sure to stay tuned to the end, and we're going to give you more updates also on our new, the virtual roundtable, and tell you what's new there. So I'm excited. I'm really excited because with 3 decades of experience building 13 successful businesses, authoring over 40 books, speaking on stages around the world, and helping thousands of people grow more assets and wealth, and one of our dearest friends, Vickie Helm, is the entrepreneurial machine. I'm telling you. So her mission is to inspire 20 million business owners and entrepreneurs to live their inner genius and become a happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise high-performance individual. Her innate ability to help people learn to build or buy unconventional wealth by learning how to grow cash flow veins, build assets, buy assets, and then learn how to grow and protect them. Vickie has become a mentor and teacher of the Freedom Seekers Way program with her business partner, Tracy Wilson, also a dear friend, all designed to help entrepreneurial women, CEOs scale their impact in online companies, their presence, and their revenues. And on today's live stream, she introduces her genius program, The Roadmap, your route to more happiness, more health, wealth, and better relationships in just 10 minutes a day for people who just simply want more quality of life. So, Vickie, my dear friend, we are so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. You know, I love talking to you and Gary, and I love your community and what it stands for. And I'm just honored to be here.
It actually, you know, we've told this story before. We actually kind of started because you inspired us.
Thank you.
And you said you guys have got something special and you've got to get it out to the world. And we both went, she's right. We've got to do this, we've got to do it now. And it's been just an absolute fun rocket ship ride ever since. So we appreciate that as well.
Thank
so,
you.
All right, so let's jump into it. So tell us about the roadmap.
Well, you know what's interesting? There's a point in your life where you start looking for success to achieve something. And then there's a point in your life after you've achieved everything where you're, now what? And that now what led me to really sit down and ask the universe, now what? Not just me, but now what? And one of the things that I wanted to make available to everyone is the information that was going to bring about quality of life, that real quality of life. So, and I wanted it to be accessible to anyone at any time, anywhere. And I wanted it to be free because I didn't need the dime. And I had accomplished what I needed to do. And I realized how much information on the how to build quality of life was missing. So I created a newsletter, and it's really new. and it's growing really rapidly right now. I'm really excited about the subscribers and the community that's there. But in this, the roadmap, I talk about what the roadblock is, and then I give the roadmap of the how-to, the step-by-step. And I pull a lot of it from how I got rich, how I got my books out, how I build businesses. And I have other people coming on, including yourself, that are going to be writing about how and why. But the sharing of this information needs to get out now as fast as it can. And that's what I created it for. I created it for people who want to help themselves see past the lies and the marketing and everything else and develop a life they love. And I hope that answered that question for you.
It certainly did. I mean, this is something that is definitely, needed badly, because as you said, there's so much stuff out there that is, kind of your bait and switch. And Gary and I are put together the virtual roundtable, which is a free event, for brainstorming, for helping people grow. And so many people are just like, oh, there's a catch. And I was like, no, I says, apparently you don't understand us. We throw out a lot of content, and we're not asking anything for it. It's just, but it's because I don't get upset with people about it. I get frustrated, but it's because there has been so much bait and switch out there.
Yeah.
And there has been so much like, what are you going to do? When's the other shoe going to drop, or whatever the case. And so it's difficult, and it takes a little time to kind of build.
That reason you put out there is the exact same reason why, along also with some nudging from yourself and some others, why Ross and I decided to do our weekly series, right? Because you've mentioned to us a lot of times that the quality of what we're giving is just not seen out in the industry. And, it's because, like you, we see that people need something to get out of the stuff they're in so they can get to the point of even seeing the potential of growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you built 13 successful businesses over 3 decades, right? So can you share a pivotal moment from your entrepreneurial journey that shaped your approach to business?
One pivotal moment.
One of many, I'm
Just
sure.
one. Only got time for one.
Because on your road, like we're talking about roadmap, so we end up with these forks, right? We do this or we do that.
So many came to mind. Came to mind. I want to talk about when I was 10 years old. Because at 10 years old, you're innocent. You don't have any business knowledge. You don't have any kind of anything but your relationship with the divine. And you don't even know it's a relationship. You're so innocent. And so I'm living in San Francisco, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make some money. I'm 10 years old, and I'm like, how am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? And I really was innocent. I expected my mind and the divine to provide me an answer. So one is I learned to expect. That expectation is so important. I learned to expect I was going to get an answer. And then when the idea hit me, I let the idea come through me. I'm 10 years old. And then the expectation turned into an action. Here's this. I didn't think about it. I didn't ask somebody, oh, what do you think of this idea? This is the idea I had. What do you think? What do you think? I didn't. That second the idea and inspiration came in, I went to the next house and I knocked on the door. I'm 10 years old. This woman answers the door. I don't even have my spiel ready. I have no money. I have no marketing. I have nothing but the idea in and of itself. So I go to the next door. I don't even have my spiel ready. She opens the door and I say, hi, I'm Vickie and I'm 10 years old and I'm collecting Coke bottles because, and she didn't wait for me to finish. She was like, girlfriend, you want to take my Coke bottles? Here they are. And the thing is, if you've ever been to San Francisco, you live either down the street or up the street, but it's either up or down that you're walking. So people don't mind bringing the Coke bottles home. They don't want to take them back up.
Right.
Now, this is the adult thinking. I didn't say this when I was a kid. This was my adult thinking. So now I have these Coke bottles and I'm like, that worked, because you're innocent. Your expectation is I receive. So there's expectation. Give me the idea, please. Not, this is my idea. Give me the idea. Ideas come from the universe as a gift. It's not your egoic creation. And you're so innocent when you're a kid. You don't have adult filters that'll hold you back or quietly self-sabotage yourself. So what ended up happening was I went to the next house, knocked on the door, did the spiel, got a little more of it out. They gave me more bottles, went to the next house. And I realized after the house number 3, I had to go to the store right then because my arms were just packed. They were full. And there I was walking up the hill with the bottles. Meanwhile, just right out there in the open, there's a Safeway cart because I'm going to the Safeway store that's up the hill. Well, the cart must have got loose and slid down the hill and stopped on this corner. And I was like, oh, there's a cart. So I put the bottles in the cart. Now, the solution is in front of you if you ask, and you have to be aware and pay attention. The universe is talking to you moment to moment to moment. At 10 years old, you can hear it. As an adult, your thinking mind comes on and thinky all day, and you miss the clues. So I put the bottles in the cart. And then I take the cart back down and I fill it up. I have so many bottles and people are giving me everything, etc. So now what I realize is I can't push the cart up the hill by myself. It's so full. As the hill starts going up, I'm like, ugh. And just that second where I'm really struggling and I'm stopping to breathe, and I'm like trying to push that cart up the hill. 3 girls come down the corner. 2 of them are my sisters, and one was a friend named Yvonne. And they looked at it and they were like, where did you get all those bottles? Now, back in the day when you brought bottles in, there were 3 types. There was a nickel bottle, there was a dime bottle, and there was a 15-cent bottle. And it was like, this was the 12-ounce, 16-ounce, and 32-ounce bottle. Mm-hmm. So what happened was they were like, oh, let us help you push this up because this is too much of a good get. So the right team of people showed up right then, being supported by the universe, and pushed the cart with me up to the top. Of course, we got all the bottles refunded, everything. And I gave them like 15 cents each. Back then, it was a lot of money to help me out. And suddenly I had 4 girls, me and the 3 that were there, 4 different carts, sections and areas. And for about 2 years, we had clients that would knock on the door. Here's your bottles. And they were like, hi, we saved the bottles for you. And that's right awesome. Then I created the systems and the businesses, not with my mind. They were shown to me. And that's vastly different. A lot of times what happens when we get an idea is we don't even let the idea fully come in. We get so excited and our mind jumps in and starts taking over before our soul has even gotten the full message in. And a lot of times, if you're intuitive and a business idea comes in, it comes in through here and goes up in kind of a thought package, and you give it words. When I was a kid, that experience let me train myself on how to build businesses. And the key thing that has helped me be successful is I do not build a business that the divine hasn't said yes to.
Nice.
That's awesome. The big get that I want to share. There's lots of spirituality to building that. So there was a long answer to a short question, but that was one of the best things I learned in business.
That's awesome.
I can actually see the logo of one of your programs or your book. It's a little girl pushing a cart.
Yeah.
It's like how I started, how I the road to riches. Awesome. What a great story. You never shared that before. That's an awesome story.
Well, yeah, I a lot of times people want something more relevant, like how do I get my CACs better, or what's my
Yeah.
EBITDA like, and I want to learn these things, and I'm like, okay, boring, but all right, I'll teach you,
Mhm.
that piece of it. But the truth is, at 10 years old, there's no tax man, and
Yeah.
the systems of the business, um, they just unfolded. And the
Yeah,
hardest thing
and
about winning in business is having systems unfold.
yeah, and I think I mean, what I got out of that was, the 10-year-old you was, and we talked about this a little bit before and getting on the call today, is the 10-year-old you had more capacity to be in the moment
Yeah.
and allow the presence that show up in the moment
Hmm.
to spark you and drive you to do things, which is amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's interesting is the presence is, I also call it the silent intelligence. But
Mm,
the thing is, we think somehow that we're different than the presence. And if we practice being the presence, we'll understand the difference between our personality selves and who we actually are.
mm,
And the
yeah.
fundamental piece of it when you're a little kid is you don't actually have a sense totally of who you are yet. So the presence is more available to you. And
You're
that's
open.
the thing I didn't, yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't lose that because of that business learning. So in anything I do, you want to be the presence, become the presence, because that's what you actually are. There's a thinking mind and the ego, and that's really great. They're good tools in this world to use, but they're not who you are. And if you let this control you, this gets squished down. And this has all the answers, the opportunities. It's the see-through point. It's the achiever. It's your inner winner. It's your divine purpose and calling, and everything else is there. So when we practice being the presence, or I do this every single morning before I start my day. I connect as the presence of me, and I come through as Vickie Helm. But Vickie Helm is going to die soon, and the presence of me is what's going to be. That's the thing that goes to the next incarnation, we'll call it. And this piece of me is just the gift of me in this lifetime, just like it is the gift of you. So as I sit there and become the presence, I tap into what I call the silent intelligence. That silent intelligence is that ethereal, because you can't really see the silent intelligence, that ethereal voice that delivers miracles and delivers answers and delivers. The more you connect is that, the struggle that somebody may feel ceases, because the struggle is you trying to figure it out in your mind, not figuring it out with the source of wisdom, that infinity, that infinite wisdom that already exists, that created you, that it created a million billion other humans before you got here.
Spot on. Excellent. So let's talk about the roadmap for just a
Yeah.
second. And because what you just said reminded me of an article that you have in the roadmap. And the name of the article is called How to Create Global Influence for at least 100 Years.
Yeah.
And this is a story about Walt Disney.
Yeah.
And your story reminded me that, when Walt Disney started, he was that 10-year-old. He had that
That's right.
10-year-old mindset. He's just like, let's just do it. I'll find a way. I'll figure it out. He didn't get in his own way. And he just said, this is something I want. And I want it really, really, really bad. And he just kept projecting that out and projecting that out.
Yeah.
And, in the article, it states that, Disney's creativity, his determination, his unwavering belief in his principles played a pivotal role in his unparalleled success. And I think that's amazing. And along with the article, it gives his 4 steps of having perseverance and that your brand is everything, and that you must be a visionary and create and grow to expand, and don't just adopt innovation, be the visionary and make something magical. So it's an amazing article.
Thank you.
Now, with what we were just talking about, what it brings to mind is that the Disney company has changed a lot.
That's right.
It changed a lot.
It certainly has.
And they're in some dire straits right now.
Mm-hmm.
Such because I believe they lost that essence. They were not able to maintain it. And then all of a sudden, instead of being something that the people, who are now in charge really wanted and they loved, and they just wanted to create and believe and be visionaries and grow, it all just came down to, in my opinion, dollars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The magic of Disney surrounds, it's like Coca-Cola. It's an iconic brand. It's an iconic place.
Mm-hmm.
And although the leadership can be changed, just like, Steve Jobs died and somebody else had to take over, are they as great as the initial founder? Most likely not.
Right.
But the magic is still there, because Disney fills up every day with long lines of people waiting to take the next adventure, to try the food. The established leadership I don't know what's going to happen out of there, but the established leadership, the way Disney is moving forward with their movies and their Pixar and everything else, still is a container where genius lives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, leadership and genius, two different things. The genius behind that's what people, when they look at Disney, look for. They don't look at the leadership and like, oh, he's not, they're right, and there's a lot of stuff going on. That's true. And 100 years later, we're still enamored with this amazing place that's there. And that's the capturing of that. Now, I want to go back to something you said earlier that I think is really important. It's super important for anyone who wants to build something. When you build something, I always think every time, even day after day after day, how can I make this better? And when I say, how can I make this better? I look at the experience of it. How can I make the perspective of the client, the experience of that business better? Because a lot of times people are like, here's a pencil. This is a pencil, and it has utility in it. It's just a writing thing. And making this better, the experience of writing with this pencil better, that's what I concentrate on. And so I do it for like one business I had an ice cream store, and we had it in a really rural town because there was no place in the town for families to go and hang out and just, be there and have a good memory of the ice cream shop you grew up with when you were a little kid. So when we made the ice cream shop, I was like, how do we make the experience of coming into this ice cream shop a really stellar experience? Everything from the building, the way it's designed, the ice cream, I don't want to make it churn like a machine. I want to make it an experience. And of course, when I was speaking on stage one time, I use the ice cream store as an example for business and how powerful it can be, because really quick, the ice cream store was owned by 3 couples. There were 3 couples that were married. So there were 6 people. There was me and my spouse and 2 other spouses. And everybody outside of there had a business. So we didn't need any of the profits for that store. So we took the profits and paid for, we did every new sidewalks, everything that was in there. We had fun with that money. And we had more fun figuring out where we're going to put the profits that month and who we were going to bless with it than anything. So I was telling him what I learned from that business, because, I always need the profits. Now I'm more philanthropic in my thinking. How can I make it a really great experience? How can I get this money over here? How can I share it out responsibly? Because you don't want to share your money stupidly. But that's another topic. So anyway, back to the story. When you get to the point where you have created in this to make an experience of something better, that's when you've added value. Now, I could make this a darker color or a richer. There are several things I can do with this pencil to make the value better. I can make it easier for drawing, and, for the experience of the user. And I think that is a big thing that we use, like right now on your show. I know that you guys have spent a boatload of time. How can we make this better for our audience and community? What can we give them back? What can we do? And you're constantly thinking how to make that experience better. And that requires imagination. And here's the thing about imagination. Imagination is one of the key tools for manifestation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of comforting the self in imagination, or a lot of destroying the self in imagination. And the key thing is imagination creates reality, whether it's a destructive reality or it's a positive reality. And the thing about that is that when Walt Disney was a little boy, he had very violent growing up. And he would go to his imagination to find solace from that. And that's how his cartoons were. That was how he comforted himself from this pain. And so what happens is there's a way that, I know growing up as a kid, and long hair, and, every singer, I'd take my hairbrush and I'd sing in the brush like I was a movie star bopping around the house. You're just, as a kid, everybody's had that rock star dream, where they're, hey, this is what it's like to be famous. That imagination helps build that reality so strongly. It's really one of the things that has to be used with some intention. And Walt, he kept with his imagination, and that changed the world. And to me, that what comes through you in imagination is purpose in that way. And if it's destructive purpose or it's positive purpose, imagination doesn't say, I only create goodness. It's like $1. You can spend it on something, good, or something not quite so good. It's imagination. It's neutral in that way. You get to choose how you want to create with it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we talk a lot about that in our programs as well, and in our live streams, that you're putting out energy.
Yeah.
Regardless, no matter what. It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be used one way or another.
Yeah.
And what people are sometimes missing is that you can determine what that's going to be used for.
Yeah.
You have all the ability in the world. So you're there, it's going out, you're thinking these thoughts and such. So make them something that's going to benefit yourself or benefit the world. And as we were talking before the show, there's so much garbage and so much,
misinformation,
chaos and misinformation and alternative narratives that are out there. And people are just kind of going, I don't know what to think, in that confusion. And that's where Gary and I, we focus on, programs that, give people that focus. It's like, here, just, I can't tell you what to think. We're just saying, this is a way of just sorting through all of that stuff. And as we call it, staying in the eye of the storm and not participating in that chaos swirling around you.
Yes. Yes. And, it's so interesting that you're saying this right now, because that's what I like about your work. And I know I'm here as the guest, but I want to talk about your work right now.
Talk about us all you want. Us.
As the world transforms into whatever it's transforming into. There's going to be no slowing that down. The only way through this, the only way out to get to the other side of this is by going through it. Now, going through it means you can go through that with your awareness, with your consciousness, being there so you make smart, really good decisions and steps. Or you go through the chaos and confusion and you come out the other side worse off than you were on the other. The thing about the clarity that you guys deliver every single time, the moment that you help people discern and see what's possible and what to look out for, and don't make this mistake. And here's how you remain emotionally and knowledgeably intelligent and safe and aware and happy. That is going to be the bottom line, because that's where the masses are moving to right now. There's going to be a huge, and it's begun, but it hasn't reached its climax yet. There is a huge spiritual awakening that is starting to ramp up. And why is that? AI is replacing jobs, and economics and money is changing. We don't have free money now. We're going to have central bank digital currencies that are coming that are going to be able programmable and trainable and everything else. And how you're living right now and how you're going to be living 10 years from now is vastly different. And what's going to happen is the sense of who you are, the meaning that you apply to yourself right now. This, I am a author, I am somebody because of this, that's all going to die. All experts are going to die. All gurus are going to die. And the only thing that is going to be left in that death of everything, which I think is good, is you and your connection to that divine self. And that's why what Ross and Gary are doing is so important. It's the most important work, isn't it? It's the most important thing to have. If you have yourself and your own system saying, go left, go right, go do this, go do that, make sure it's this, and you're listening, and you know how to listen, and you know how to differentiate between your thinking mind and that divine aspect of you, you're going to get through it just amazingly. Just, it's the only way to go. That to me is the key thing. And all the riches are no longer in the niches. All the riches are in that divine piece right here. All the answer, and riches may not be central bank digital currencies or dollars. It may be something else, but if you don't see it, you're not listening to that presence tell you and guide you, you're going to be bounced around a lot, and you're going to be manipulated and used, etc. This is why
I think
it's so important.
I think it's a good segue into something I wanted to ask, because the article I liked was the Forging Deeper Connections one that you had. And, I think that our concept of currency is going to and has to shift, right? And so there's going to be the currency of connections and relationships, the currency of honesty, the currency of accountability and forgiveness. I think those are going to be a sense of currency that we evolve into. And so the 5 steps was for mastering trust building in 5 steps, right? So it was honesty, vulnerability, storytelling, accountability, and forgiveness. In your experience, which of those is most often most challenging for people to embrace?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would want to say accountability, because people love scapegoating. And that scapegoating is they love to pinpoint at a group of people and go, that's why the world is wrong. Right. So accountability is a big deal. That's right. Yeah. And in forging relationships myself, I upfront create the trust that needs to be built. I don't wait for it. I don't earn it. This thing that we have, trust is earned over a period of time. That just makes you not accountable. If you're truly accountable, you can create, and it's the first thing I do. How do I create trust with my audience? Well, that is the secret gift, isn't it? So right away, when I want to create trust with somebody, I give them my accountability first in a very vulnerable manner. That's step one. So, if you look on the Coffee Break show and you've ever watched any one of those episodes, there is me freely giving my mistakes, my feelings, my things that I went through, and my wonderful luck, and my, whatever I can do. I give that accountability right up front. Like, people get enamored with, oh, you've made 13 businesses and sold them. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I made 18 and only 13 of them, only 13 lived. There's a point where you want to get that accountability right up front, because somebody's like, oh, you're willing to show up. And most people spend time showing off, not showing up. And the showing up, people can feel when you show up, and they can feel when you're showing off. Their BS detectors are right there. So this is the trust builder right here. Accountability up front.
That's so profound. And also, thank you for the commercial. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
I love your work. I have from the time I interviewed you, and I was like, oh my God, this is, this has got to be everywhere.
That's great. So I want to talk about, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You have a story that was before Roadmap, that something that had happened in your life, that you had this epiphany that you needed to make not a U-turn, but another path. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
No, because I'm not sure what you're talking about right now. And what I'm looking at is, I want to let you know, I'm going in my mind.
Yeah, you took some time off to reevaluate.
Thank you. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. The reason I said that with Ross is because if you look at any one of my books, you'll see I always ask Ross to be an endorser. I'm like, here, read this and endorse that, and he's like, okay. And I was like, which book and which, I was like, I don't know which one. Yeah, I want to talk about this. The Coffee Break Show, a lot of you know about the Coffee Break Show, and I want to thank you for that. And the Coffee Break Show was on for 6 years. And I interviewed the top experts from around the world, and this was pre-AI, so it was important. And I did it so that they could share with my audience tips and tools that would help their business, their family, and their life situations. So I had a boatload of conversations. I mean, just really important power. I have Joe Vitale on, Joel Comm. I mean, just all kind. And hang on, I got to get a drink. I had you and Ross on. Gary and Ross were on. I'm sorry. I am really going to take a minute right now.
You bet.
I have to cough, and I'm in a mute. So I had you guys on the show as well. And I'm done being muted, right?
Yep. You're good.
Great. So suddenly I realized AI was coming, and this was about, 6-7 months. And I looked at how it was going to change the future, because part of what I do is being a futurist. And I was like, oh, the conversation is going to change. There are going to be no more experts, and they're happening fast. Like I made a lot of money at once teaching people how to write books, and there's a lot of money in content creation and copywriting and all kinds of things that you can do. Mm-hmm. And now I don't even need copywriters. I don't even need staff writers. I don't need anything. So I took my entire, I have a media company is what I own. I have a consulting firm and a media company. I have news channels, and I have publishing of books, and I have, podcasts. I had everything rolling for this media company. And that took a bit of staff. And my staff now is what you would call from the past a skeleton crew. And that skeleton crew can do everything that big crew did. And I was like, okay, these talents are dying. The conversation and things are changing. So I took a very popular show with people that I get like 40,000 around, I'd say 38 to 40,000 downloads a week of that show. And it was out in the public for a long time. And I just came on and said, listen, times are a changing. This show is not delivering and can't deliver future value for you. So I'm going to take a while, and I'm going to maneuver out of the way, close the show down. Thank you for following me. I did my last show, and I took about 2 months, and I was asking, what is it that you want me to talk about? What is it that you want me to do? And I literally laid low. I didn't talk to anybody. And I spent about a month by myself, just in contemplation and listening and listening and listening and listening. And I did pop in, and I would measure it. No, not quite it. That's not it. I wouldn't move forward until I heard my yes. And I was like, what is going to be missing in the future? And then I sat down and said, what is it? And the words that I heard were the way forward. There's no roadmap. And I was like, is the newsletter the way forward? And I got that no. And I couldn't see the roadmap. I just for a minute was like, there's no way forward. It's true. People aren't going to know what the way forward is, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, what's the way forward? What's the way forward? And I started something called the Precisionist Life in the beginning. And I wrote it for about a month or so. And I was like, no, this isn't right. So I closed it down. I was like, you have to wait for the answer. So finally, the roadmap, the 2 words that were in that sentence, came back. It's the roadmap. So that I was developing, and I thought, that's what the future is missing. We know what the roadmap is in the past. You go to this public school, then you went to, high school, you went to college, you got a degree, then you went here and you did this. All of that's gone. There are no roadmaps. And what I discovered was that people didn't want to hear from experts. This is my cool new thing, that it does this, this, this. They wanted a roadmap to having quality of life in an uncertain future where your past is completely non-usable to your future. So that conversation, and if you have a podcast or you have content that you're giving people, I want to be really clear here. I don't know who's in your audience, but my business advice right now, everybody is going to need to pivot. And what I did was, as a futurist, go, oh, I'm going to have to pivot. But I pivoted early, like in the beta stages. I pivoted before most companies ever pivoted. So I pivoted my consulting firm and what it does. I pivoted my media company and what it produces, the content forward. So the pivot is what I'm talking about. And the pivot isn't just business knowledge. The pivot is how you receive. You've been receiving from the outside all our lives. Get it from the TV, the radio, the experts, the teacher, the professors, the this, the that. And now that's not going to work anymore. You're going to get your knowledge answers. Where is this, and what's the map to go here on Maps and Ways or Chat GTP? But the way forward can only now come from inside, which is really the truth of always how it's been. But we've been confused for yugas. Right. Anyway, but that can only come from that inside place. That's where we're moving forward. I'm sorry, I lost the question I was answering. And now I don't want to talk more because then I won't know what I'm
So
talking about.
it was because we were talking
Oh,
about
yes,
the pause that you took and why you took it.
that's it. That's
And you
that
had,
moving
wasn't there,
forward.
didn't you had, if I recall, you had an experience though that actually triggered that.
Yes. I'm not sure which experience you're talking about.
I
And
believe if I
just tap it because I know we talk all the time.
yeah, I
And I'm
know.
like, wish.
I believe there was a death,
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
right?
Thank you very
That
much.
kind of, which
Thank you.
generally will bring a lot of
Thank
us
you.
to a realization of,
Yes.
now let me do some even deeper
Yes.
in the work.
Yes. Okay. Now I know what story you're looking for. During this time where I
I
was,
thought there was only one.
no,
Not
it's
with
like,
Vickie.
there's vast thinking. And I do this thing every single morning. There's this everything that's every single morning. So during the time where I was futurizing, where I was looking at the future and going, oh my God, look at all this. I was, working. I have 4 companies, and I have my days being told to me what I'm going to do. Here's your next thing. Here's your next thing. Here's your next thing. And very scheduled. And it was an unexpected death of a really dear friend. It was his wife's birthday, and she wanted to go hiking. And they had a son. He was in his, late 20s, and he came up for her birthday. And so they went on a hike that was, I live in the mountains. I live 8,000 feet up and in there, and they were in the area over here. They're just really dear friends that are there. So they went hiking, and on the way down, this guy was like 6'3", super muscly, very attractive man. He was eye candy for, he was just a really great guy, and everybody loved him. And we had a big party celebrating his birthday, and it's really fun. So, and he's just this genuinely gem of a dude. And he had a heart attack and died just like that. And it stunned everyone who was his friend, because it's like the last guy you would expect to have a heart attack and die, because he's so healthy, so strong. And the shock really threw me. I was really stunned. And his wife has the same name as mine. Her name is Vickie. And it caused a different type of pause in me, because he was only 68. And I was like, okay, if you're this old, or you only had 10 more years, because you don't know what you don't know, or 2 years or 3 years, are you leaving the message you want to leave? Are you saying the thing you want to say? Are you doing the things you're wanting to do? And I really felt in, and I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not talking about what I wanted to talk about. I'm not doing what I wanted to do. And that was the part of the pivot piece, when I was like, okay, I got to pivot from there. Then there was part of me that was like, I'm not pivoting in the same way I pivoted before. Because when you get up in the morning and your day is decided by your VA, you have this at this time, this at this time, this at this time. I know you know what it's like. I know you know what it's like to have your day that cram full. And if you wanted to go to lunch with your friend and they called you up and said, hey, we're going to lunch, and you're like, oh, I can't, I got an interview to do in another 30 minutes. I was like, wait a minute. That's not why I got into business. And I decided I wanted to stop being the front of the company. Like, the company doesn't roll unless you show up over here and do this show, or do this show, or do this show. And you can't go to lunch when you want to go to lunch. And I was like, it's really cool to have all of this stuff and things, because I'm very creative, but then quality of life measured out. So I reevaluated everything in that pivot. But the experience of that moment, it's like there's a shock into wakefulness. I mean, we all think we're awake. Like right now, we think we're awake. We're having a conversation. We're talking. But my spiritual teacher, he always explains it to me like this: you're awake and you think you're aware right now. But imagine right now if you were in a car and it was on some beautiful overlook, and you're in the back seat with your loved one, and hanky panky is starting, and hanky panky continues, and you think you're really awake with that person, and that you're really present with that person, and you're having all kinds of fun. And then suddenly, while you're naked in the back seat, the cop knocks on the window and shines the light in, and you turn around and he said, "Now you're awake." And I
Your
was like,
eyes are this big.
yeah, that's right. Now you're awake. And I was like, oh, there it is.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
I hope that answered your question. Did I answer the question you were
Sure.
asking?
Sure. And I think there comes a time when we all do a reevaluation. And I mean, I've had, lost several friends over the last, well,
Yeah.
it's been the best of years as far as in that
Correct.
case. And each one is just like, whoa, wait a minute, but again, it's kind of look around. Where am I? Am I still?
It's something I remind people all the time in our weekly talks. I remind people this is a temporary gig.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
This human experience is completely a temporary gig, and you never know when your time to quit or your time to be fired is there. So
Yeah.
so to make the most of it while you're here. And we talk about it a lot in our 5-day solution experience, where it's almost like you want to walk with death on your shoulder, right?
Yes.
Reminding you that, hey, it's any moment.
That's right.
So what are you going to make of this moment? And so it's interesting that you had that experience. And
Gary, I
that
want to
awakening.
say what you just said was so important, and I don't want it to go by, because that's how you build quality of life. The problem with quality of life is when you're asleep, you just accept what is as your quality of life. But it is only when you say to yourself that this is a time in my life where any moment I could drop and die. What is that song? Live Like You Were Dying or something like that. It's Tim McGraw that, yeah, well, it's a guy with the song's about a guy with a terminal illness. He's like, live as if you were going to be dying. And that important piece of it, because when you do that, there is my real want is to die with no regrets. And that's a big deal, because you have to confront everything. Do you have regrets in relationship? Do you have regrets in your career? Do you have regret in yourself? Do you have to forgive yourself or blah, blah, blah? But if you die with no regrets, then, and any moment, that's true. Any moment, you don't know when, you don't know how, you don't know why. This guy was the last dude we would have expected to drop dead. And it just happened that fast. And for you, when we talk about telling people, and this is a 5-week course that you do, is that what you said?
5 days, a 5-day,
5-day thing.
Event, yeah.
The starting point of that conversation was so smart. You're not here. It feels like you're going to get tomorrow every day because you've woken up so many times that you feel like tomorrow is guaranteed, and it's not.
We feel entitled, right? We feel entitled.
Yes. We so really do. We're like, here, we're going to live forever. And then suddenly you're like on your deathbed going, but wait, I didn't do this and I didn't try that.
Yeah.
Well, that happened to me. And I'm going to put this out to everyone, because I think I told Ross when I was talking to him, I put in, when he died, the thing I actually wanted to do, which was ride my bike across the United States with my spouse.
Yep.
Wow.
That's I did tell you, man, I tell you everything. Anyway, so starting in Anacortes, Washington, and going across the United States, and we are leaving in May of next year.
Wow.
And we put it on the
Nice.
map. And
That's awesome.
I'm hustling right now to get all my systems so I can just take one little computer and do it on the way. But and I've had a lot of people say, will you film it for us? Will you do this for us? Will you do that for us? And I'm debating, do I really want to do that? Or do I just want to have fun and ride my bike across the United States? Because some of it's going to be fun. Some of it's going to suck. And people want to know how you're managing your mind from the fun to the suck. And I was like, oh, I see the value in that. I see the value in sharing that. And also at the same time, I'm like, it sucks to work your way while it's not a workation.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is definitely where the rubber hits the road. That's for sure.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I'm married to an athlete that is really a 1% athlete. And, she the 14ers, she can climb mountains like a goat. She does the MS 150. She does the triple bypass, which if you're a cyclist, you know how those are. And she's such a better cyclist than me. And I was like, okay, I want to let you know the first month we do this, I'm going to really suck at it, but I'll catch up, but I will never be as great a cyclist as she is. But it's the experience of being able to do that is just, I want to challenge myself in that way, because isn't it that's the ultimate in your face. This is how you act and react. And it shows you. And so everybody wants me to go do it so that they can see what happens. And I'm contemplating that. I haven't got a full yes.
So why did you pick Anacortes to be your launch point?
Well, because there is the American Rail Trails bike system, and it starts in Anacortes, Washington.
I did not know that.
Well, if you look at there's maps of all the bike trails across America, and I love mountain biking. We go downhill mountain biking, but bike packing, I've never done that. And then there's a huge community of bike packers. And so the American Rail Trail System, you could just Google that or go to YouTube and Google it, the American Rail Trail System, and you'll see how it goes all the way from Washington State to Washington, D.C.
Wow. Well, you're up in my territory. That'll be up in my territory. So I'll be there for your send off.
All right. Thank you.
I promise.
Thank you. That's going to be fun. We can film that. Here's their send off. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now are you setting yourself with any kind of like a time limit, or just the fact of doing it?
Well, most people do it in 3 months. I've given myself 5 because I want to see stuff too. I don't want to just cycle from one side to the other. Like, hey, we did 100 miles a day, but we didn't really see anything.
Right.
It's like, and I think we'll probably end up doing it in 4. And some people are saying, do it in the car, do a section in a car and ride that section. And, and I'm not sure how it's all going to unfold, but I'm looking forward to.
That's that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
It's going
to be fun.
All right, cool. Well, we're kind of used up our hour. We've dropped the link for the roadmap. And
I put it in the chat there for you.
Yeah, and we've already put it in the comments. And
we posted it.
Come and join me on the roadmap. It will be, we're going to be launching a podcast, but not for a few months. We're going to be doing the newsletter first, because that's what the divine said.
Yeah. So again, this journey across the United States does require a road map. I'm seeing kind of a
context
synchronicity here, it's so, it's going to be really, really interesting. Maybe just some stills, my sister, when she moved over here from Baltimore, she didn't video anything, but, got a lot of photos. But the same thing is that she goes, I stopped here. I wanted to see this person, this friend,
Yeah.
this family member, and such. And so,
Yep.
she's like, it's kind of the same thing. I just wanted to suck it all up. And she didn't do this on bicycle though, but although she is a veteran Ironman marathoner.
Yeah, we have a lot of people that were, fans of the show and fans of what I do or read my books. They're like, "Hi, I live here. You guys can stay overnight," or "Hi, I live,"
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
That would be really cool.
That's kind of why the extension of 3 months to 5 months is there. But the truth is, I really want to have the experience of, like, I have this wicked fear of heights. I mean, really wicked fear of heights. And there are some bridges, the old train bridges that just drop. And I'm like, okay, I have to confront that and, get to the other side of that. And, I'm not sure I know how to film it and go through it at the same time. So, we'll figure it out. It'll be something.
That would be cool.
That's great.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show today. I really appreciate
absolutely our
it.
pleasure. And for everybody, we want to also remind you, there's links in the comments for the Infinity Matrix private group. So please join us there, where we get more detailed in a lot of the things that we do. There's some questions that you have to answer to get in. So please answer all the questions. Otherwise, the system kind of pops you out. But most of all, I really want to talk about our virtual roundtable. This is really hand in hand with what Vickie's talking about. This is about changing your way of connecting, changing your way of learning, where we take you beyond the traditional business methods and introduce new ways of thinking and communicating and expanding your purpose-driven business mind. And it's a live event. It's on Zoom, and so it's an interconnected event. So in other words, there's no selling, there's no elevator pitches, there's no awkward self-promotion babbling. It's not a teaching session. What we like to do on these, it's not like what we're doing on our streams or our master classes or our 5-day events. It's a creative, safe space where you can meet and actually interact with hundreds of like-minded, purpose-driven entrepreneurs like yourself and brainstorm some ideas.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Find some solutions with a person, not a talking head. Gary and I, we get tired of being a talking head. It says this is where you're going to interact, on live. It's just going to be boom. And we've seen some amazing things come out of the virtual roundtable. And
and it kind of in alignment with one of the roadmap newsletters. It's about collaboration, right? So
exactly.
In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, entrepreneurship is more important than it's more than just profitability, right? It's about people. And again, we talked about that being the currency. It's about relationship. It's about connecting and establishing an empowering community. And we invite you to that. It is by invitation only. So the way to get access to it is you need to type in #VRT for virtual roundtable. So #VRT in the comments, whether you're live or on the replays, and then we will reach out to you through DMs on Messenger to give you your personal invite for your RSVP link so you can jump in and join us. And we got one coming up soon, so you can't get the dates or information unless you're interested. In raise your hand by saying #VRT.
Yeah. So this is so different. This is our pivot. This is our way of going, this I like. This is the way that people need to start to learn to reconnect and such. And, we'd love to do it in person, but, it's a pretty big audience. It's kind of hard to do. But we will eventually be doing something like this in person. But at the same time, again, it's you're actually interacting with other people and getting their ideas and their experiences and building upon those and finding the answers that you need. So,
or just building relationship and having new people you can just speak with and share, and just some commonality in the struggles and the successes, and have that as experience. So Come and expect whatever happens and be open and flexible for it, because we never know what's going to happen either. So
that's all we have. Vickie, thank you so
thank you so
much.
much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
It's
It's
always
awesome.
fun hanging out with you guys. Thank you for having
Just
me.
the fact that you think about us and say, hey, listen, I want to launch this. I want you guys to help. That just means so much to me. And
Totally.
again, if there's anything else we can do, we're going to be dropping on a regular basis, some posts promoting the roadmap, because I think it is something that is desperately needed. And then when the podcast is ready to launch, we're here for you.
That's right. You're going to be on the show.
Awesome.
And there's that too.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you again, Vickie. We will be in touch.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. So, I'm going to take this time here. I'm going to ask you to just play along here with us just for a little bit. Okay. If possible, and if you're in a place where it's safe to do so, just close your eyes for a few moments and let us take you on an imagination where we transport you to a unique place. Let's say it's a sanctuary where minds converge in conscious collaboration. Imagine that. And we're all headed there together, even though it will be unique to each of us in this space. There's no room for the typical noise of selling, no elevator pitches, and certainly no awkward self-promotion that just turns people off. Okay? Instead, it's a space where authenticity reigns supreme, where pure relationship building and collaboration take center stage. So imagine joining in this space, feeling an immediate sense of warmth and camaraderie. You greet and you're greeted by purpose-driven entrepreneurs and thought leaders from diverse backgrounds, all gathered with a shared intention to connect, to learn, to grow together. And the air just swells with the vibrant energy of possibility and the excitement of collective wisdom.
Okay, so keeping your eyes closed, continue to imagine that. As you participate with the intention of service, you become part of engaging and deep conversations. Everyone is actively listening to one another with genuine interest. There are no ulterior motives or hidden agendas. Everyone is focused on understanding, empathizing, and learning from each other. It's a place where vulnerability is celebrated. For it's through vulnerability that true connection is forged. In this space, you are not just a name or a title. You are seen, you're heard, and valued for your unique perspective and contribution that goes beyond your business label. You feel a sense of belonging and empowerment, knowing that your voice matters and that your ideas have the potential to create positive change for those in the meeting with you. By you participating in this virtual environment, we are co-creating a sanctuary of conscious collaboration where the power of collective minds can be unleashed. It's a departure from the traditional business landscape where competition often has been valued and often overshadows collaboration. But here, we prioritize collaboration over competition, recognizing that by working together, we can achieve far more than working in isolation.
Yeah, and so we are imagining this transformative journey together. And in doing that, we can embrace a place where purpose-driven entrepreneurs and thought leaders converge, where authenticity and relationships are the currency, and where collaboration is the catalyst for remarkable achievements. Just imagine that. Now, Go ahead and open your eyes, come back, and let's begin to build this reality together right here, right now. And before we go into that and go towards that, here's what others are saying about this type of collaborative environment and what their experiences are. All right, now that you've watched those, here are a few things you need to know to be ready for the virtual roundtable. First thing is that you need to be there right on time or early if possible, because we want to honor everyone's time and start into the experience right away. Because once we get going, there's such a flow of creative interactions and ideas that it's important that we actually head right into the breakout rooms about 5 minutes in, so we don't really waste a lot of time. So to prevent interruptions, we won't be letting anyone in late. And that's a strict rule, a strict boundary we're going to stick by.
Exactly. And second thing is that you need to be camera ready. This is not a sit behind a blank screen experience. There are no spectators. Have pen and paper ready. You have to have your camera on in order to really participate with your partners, in order to build those relationships and those collaborations. Think of this like the blending of a super powerful mastermind with the time and the efficiency of a speed dating service. So you can expect efficient use of your time and a variety of interactions with like-minded entrepreneurs in a no-pressure environment for a powerful bonding experience. So, for example, let's say you had individual meetings with, let's say, 20 people at 30 minutes each. Well, that would take you 10 hours. But instead, if you met those 20 people in 1 2-hour day, you're going to have a relationship and a bond with everyone in the virtual roundtable. So this is such a smart, efficient use of your time when you come to these events.
Absolutely. And the most important rule is that everything we do here is in a safe place.
Absolutely.
You can show up as your authentic self and know that you have a space where you can get real help. This also sets the tone so that you get amazing value from each event. You're going to leave with solid connections, absolutely. Now let's face it, being an entrepreneur can sometimes be so isolating. Well, it's time for us to change that, right? And when you have a community like this, you're going to want to come back and interact with familiar and new members on a regular basis. So remember that imagining that we had you do a little earlier today in the video? Well, we are going to facilitate that kind of experience for those who show up. All right. Once again, thanks for being here and taking action. As we all know, that's the only way to get things done. Now, let's connect, get empowered, and create an impact. If you have any questions, you can DM either Ross or myself on Facebook, and we look forward to seeing you in our next virtual roundtable.
We'll see you there. Thanks. Bye-bye.